Lately, I've been going back and playing older games I didn't get around to when I was younger. Mostly because I'm interested in game design, aesthetics, graphic art and stylistic choices. And older, especially from the 7th gen, was great at this. What the graphics couldn't do, they had to add up for with the graphics art and stylistic choices, so they always went overboard on this. Just take a look at Need for Speed Most Wanted Contra Rivals, or Saints Row 2 versus the new one. A lot of the aesthetics laid very close up against Erbling, which is an aesthetic I also want to make a video about at another point. But games in this era often ended up being either very arcadey or trying to go next gen laying close up against realism. And for some reason this striving to achieve realism always ended up with the same looking games, brownish color grading, or better known as the piss filter. I think a lot of the reason for this is you came from even more arcadey 6th gen games like Sonic, Jet Set, Mario Sunshine and Spyro, all very colorful games, so when the 7th gen came around with a huge leap in technology, it was much easier to make games set in reality that were more realistic to look at. So to achieve a realistic look, you obviously had to tone down the saturation, because real life doesn't look like that. Also, a lot of the games developed took place in war, apocalypse and desert settings. So they always had to add a desolate, hopeless and warm filter on top of the already turned down saturation, giving us this terrible look. Even though this aesthetic looked so terrible, we all got a nostalgic feeling for it. I remember I had GTA 4 and had fun in it with friends, but I got so depressed playing it alone by the colors that I actually never played it and dodged it every time I could. I also tried playing Far Cry 2, but I always got scared by the black Africans yelling at me from the bushes. Meanwhile, the dark muted brown colors didn't help uplifting the experience. A constant buzzing sound of mosquitoes and heart-pounding greenish malaria attacks. But now, I think fondly of that, because I haven't played a game that made me feel so much since. Whether it's an ick or not, I don't really care. I find it impressive because that was the intention. Much like I'm not gonna be mad at a horror movie for making me scared because that's what it's supposed to do. I don't think the Gears of War Mad World trailer had made the impact on us watching had it been in naturalistic colors and not grey and depressing and out of hope, which this trailer really wants to show. I don't think Modern Warfare 2 would have the Iraq war vibe if not for the reddish and brown filter. GTA 4 would not feel like a Russian arriving in the USA to realize that New York is a bum's world filled with lost souls and the American dream in ruins for not the dark, grey and brownish sunset. It feels like an East Coast city. And underground street racing games wouldn't feel like underground grungy motorfests if not they had ties to underground rap, punk and rock through its art style and music. Same with the skating games. Fallout New Vegas not looking like the Nevada desert if not for the orange hue. So there's great reasons for these aesthetic style choices, and I think even more cool is the game ideas, and I hope these games also inhibit it. Playing GTA 4 again literally feels like living in 2008. The Nokia cell phone, billboards and advertisements. The idea of having a phone in a game like real life was so mind-breaking. It gave us the sense that in the future games are gonna be even more immersive than ever. Going into a lot of buildings gave me hope for being able to enter every building in the future. Far Cry 2 having such dynamic physics, but not only that, staying in first person entering a car, not having a digital map but in-game GPS and maps, healing yourself literally with animations and not just standing behind a wall for a bit. Diseases, being able to get sick by that like malaria in the future. Can my character get sick if I jump in cold water and don't seek warmth? Guns jamming in the future. Can I rebuild and build weapons on tables? Red Faction Guerrilla having fully destructible buildings where smashing a couple walls makes the entire building collapse because there's not enough structure or foundation for the roof, now making the building fall over. Playing Skate, I love the idea of everything implemented being a real thing. Going online, You pulled out your mobile, music player in your backpack, a physical map, that is, the actual map, clothing with you at all times, the backpack having VHS tapes that you can play to watch recorded footage, the camera having fisheye lens and following you like there's a friend behind you recording your every move. The immersion, it's so great. All these games that had the brown hue was games that was rethinking games the most, innovating and creating more immersive universes than ever. They made us dream of a future where a game could be like real life. And of course, these were the games that chased realism over anything. And as I touched on earlier, realism comes with desaturation and that look. So I think when we look back on this era, it's kinda at a gag reflex, but also great memories or hope. They really were cool as fuck. Sadly, they weren't all good games, but they were unique. I don't know when it happened or why it happened, but gaming went away from trying to make them like real life. Games are literally further away from this than they were before. The new Far Cry's having in-game maps, XP gained, enemy health bars, fuck's sake, an in-game loadout menu. Far Cry 2, when you bought a weapon, you went to the fucking weapons dealer that had a computer terminal where you would boot it up to order weapons online via blood diamonds you have found out in the open world. And to choose this weapon, you would have to walk over to your warehouse where these weapons had now been delivered. Like, why fucking remove that? It's cool. Everything has instant gratification and found ways to make sure you're always getting fed dopamine while playing a game. And I think these old games have become so fondly looked on because they're literally more immersive, have better physics and more well thought out than games getting released today. The only exceptions is probably Metro Exodus. I love how immersive that is. Red Dead 2, GTA 5 and probably GTA 6 when that releases. But that's all we have today. I think the reason when we look at this color grading and laugh is because the big games that had this color were hits and influential. So smaller games copied that style, and we ended up having jungle adventure games like Tomb Raider looking brown, a space station being brown, like why? A beautiful fantasy world to explore that was just grey. They fucking made a Bomberman game in this tone. Need I say more? So yeah, it went overboard. But I find it interesting how something that's terribly ugly and gives us a feeling of disgust has become the glimmer of hope we once had for the future of gaming. The ugly has become the beautiful. Thanks for watching and remember to show love.